All right, so I'm working on this 2018 Honda Goldwing. It's the standard model, but I believe what I'm about to discuss is the same for the touring model with the trunk. Inside these saddlebags, there is no provision for a trunk light that I've been able to find online. There's this little square panel inside here on each side that looks like it could be basically a spot where you could snap in a dome light for when you're opening up the saddlebag in the dark to be able to see your contents inside here. So what I did, I started looking at the wiring diagrams for the Goldwing, and I found that even the standard Goldwing has the provision for it. If you have the trunk, there's an optional brake light and a trunk dome light. And so what I was wondering is, if you open the trunk and the light comes on, do those lights also come on when you open the saddlebag doors? Each saddlebag door has two sensors corresponding to the two latches. So if either one of these hooks is not latched in all the way, there will be an indication up here on the dash, and I can show you that right here on this screen. It says that the saddlebag is open. You can see it flipping down there. If I open the other side, the all-new 93.7 to beat. Sorry, let me get rid of that music. If I open the other side, you'll see the other saddlebag to be open. What I found is this little white plug here, which is normally hidden down inside here, inside this big black boot, is for the optional sub harness for the trunk, which activates the third brake light on the trunk and also the dome light for the trunk. So what I was wondering is, by looking at the wiring diagram, this little brown wire with the red stripe here, it almost looks kind of a gray, but it's actually brown with a red stripe on it. That is the wire, according to the Honda service manual wiring diagram, that activates the light inside the trunk when you open the trunk. So I decided to test that and see if it also engages or is supposed to engage the trunk light when you open the saddlebag. So I have my multimeter here. I have the positive going to this cable here, which is basically for charging the battery. It's just a battery maintainer accessory that I added. So the positive lead is on that, and as you can see here, my multimeter is basically at 0, and it's set to voltage DC. And so whenever I put my probe on the wire that I showed before, the brown wire with the red stripe, it's going to be kind of hard for me to do this while I'm holding the camera and the probe at the same time. But if I were to press this button right here to open the side bag, now the multimeter reads 12 volts, which is battery power. And I tested it for the other side too. So this brown wire with the red stripe will turn the dome light on for the trunk if you have the tour model. Even if the trunk is not open and you open this saddlebag, the light in the trunk is on. So for my purposes, I don't have a trunk, but I'd like to have a dome light inside here for at nighttime whenever I'm unloading or loading and I can see the contents inside of the saddlebag. So for my purposes, I'm going to integrate into this wire here and add some dome lights. Now, Honda has obviously, I mean, I'm guessing that's what this little blank here is for. You just have to cut these little tabs out, and I'm guessing what this is for a dome light. I haven't been unable to find anything online to indicate that Honda offers a light to snap in here. This may be something that's available in a market other than the United States, which is where I'm located. So maybe there's something available overseas to snap into there. But what I'm thinking about doing is just getting a little 12-volt LED, a little round one, and just drilling a little hole inside the blank and mounting the LED to that. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't work. I know that the system that controls the lighting on these is operated on a CAN bus, and there may be some potential issues with adding an additional light to this circuit that normally only runs one light for the trunk. So let's just say I put one light on, there may not be an issue, say for this side, and then I put another light on over here. That may be two lights that it's not normally meant to drive. And then if you also have a touring model, there's going to be a third light in the trunk if you have that option. So there will be three lights on a circuit that's designed for one. Now, the way that the wiring diagram is set up, it basically shows there's going to be a 12-volt wire inside this harness too. I believe it's the red one. I'll have to go back and double check. So basically you could wire the positive side of the LED to the positive wire and the negative side of the LED to that brown with red stripe wire there. I know that these are sensitive, so like a lot of times, say if you add a bunch of additional brake lights to this vehicle, that it'll cause the brake lights to not function because of the increased amp draw. And I even read inside the service manual somewhere where it stated that there was a specific current rating that the body computer, or they call it the front control module, I believe, is looking for. So if it's drawing too much current, it shuts things down just to protect the wiring and the module itself. So as long as we're able to stay within the current rating of what that module is able to supply for this, then we should be able to just wire up two LEDs for the saddlebags. And if you have the module, if you have the touring model with the trunk light, then that would be a third one. So we would have to decide what that current rating needs to stay under and find components, lights, LEDs that meet those specifications. So the other option that we could possibly that could work as well is, instead of wiring the lights, the negative pole of the LEDs directly to this wire, we could also use there are little low current sensors, trigger modules that you can hook to a circuit where it does not draw any current, but it creates an output similar to the way a relay would. And you would actually use that in conjunction with a relay, most likely, and you'd obviously want to put a fuse on it. There's all sorts of different ways that you could go about this, but I think for the time being, I'm going to try to wire two LEDs to this light and see how the motorcycle behaves. I think it should be fine. And obviously, once we prove the concept here, I could probably source some electrical connectors. We could get a male and a female and make a little jumper harness, so that if you have the trunk model and you have the sub harness for the trunk model installed, then you could just plug this little sub harness in between this male plug and the female part of the trunk sub harness. Or if you just have the standard model like I do, or then you can just plug it directly into here, and without making any modifications to the wiring on the bike. So that's where I'm at right now. I think this could be something useful, especially if you ride your bike at night a lot, or even in the daytime. Sometimes if you're in the shade, it's kind of hard to see in there. You may be looking for your gloves or whatever the case may be, and if you can't see, it's just a nice to have. Just like the trunk light, People add the trunk light because it's nice to be able to see. So I'll go from here, and I'll make another video once I get a little further along. Thanks.